Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave. Oh, say can you see?
And a lovely Friday night, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this Friday night, the 15th day of November, 2024. We're grateful to have all of you tonight. And we're sort of debating whether to come on tonight, but after thinking about it and saying, I ain't heard from Jeemes Akers all week. And, he's been out there with these siestas and laying on a beach somewhere. I said he cannot go the whole week and not have to work a little bit for the pay that I pay him all these big bucks to come on and share his wisdom. But it's good to have Jeemes Akers on the line with me tonight. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It would not be a week without you on the show. And, we've been trying to get you on once a week. And I said, we got to come on a Friday night and lay back and, just chew the fat a little bit. There's a lot going on in the country, man. I tell you what. Hey, I do want to ask you about something. And folks, let me just say this. We and James are going to discuss some things. We got plenty of show for you tonight. We're going to take your questions, run a few videos by you, a few memes, and take your thoughts here. But hang on to your questions till the end, and we'll appreciate that. And I promise we'll take a few tonight and chit-chat with you as well. James, I do want to say something. There's a breaking story coming out of Pennsylvania tonight I want to get your take on. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court even said you cannot count illegal ballots in Berks County, which evidently there was a lot of discrepancy tonight with Bob Casey. He's not conceded because he's wanting to count those votes that are basically being cast by illegals in this race against McCormick. What's your thoughts on that? The Republican Party needs to step up and stop this mess in its tracks tonight. I mean, there's people out there claiming now that Kamala Harris is going to win Berks County when people thought Trump won it. And evidently he did, but you start counting these votes cast by illegals, not that it's going to change the state count, but that county was one of the biggest in Pennsylvania. We sat up all night watching it, and Magdalene pointed it out. That was a shocker. And again, that goes to the integrity of our elections, my friend. And look, you can't have illegals voting in your country. You just can't.
No, I agree with that. clearly one party benefits by having non-citizens vote. Guess which party that is?
Oh, the Dems.
So it's not surprising that they won't concede. They'll want every vote, no matter how late it's cast, or people that have no credentials whatsoever. And I mean, if I was king for a day, everybody would have to show ID. You'd have to be an American citizen to vote in a U.S. election.
Come on, buddy. Come on.
I mean, what is so difficult to understand about that? And so we're seeing a test of all those things that, the left they just won't give up. It doesn't matter. They continue to try to hang in there and hang on and just string things out, and they want to count votes if they're cast days after the election and all that stuff, and it's just it's absolutely ridiculous.
No, it's not. It's not just ridiculous, buddy. It's criminal. Look, it's against everything that our Constitution calls for. It's against the law. And even the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which ain't the most conservative Supreme Court in the land, mind you, they even said you can't do this, and this local election board is doing it. And, James, my opinion, this is why they're scared of Matt Gaetz, because I'm going to tell you something. Under Matt Gaetz as an attorney general, this crap's going to stop. I mean, This crap is going to stop. They're not going to stop Donald Trump from taking the oath of office. But this kind of stuff is going to stop. And this is why they're scared to where about a Matt Gaetz attorney generalship. This is why they're scared of people like Pete Hegseth, because he's going to clean out the perversion in our military. He's going to clean out this wokeness. He's going to clean out Robert Kennedy Jr. People can think what they want to about his politics. I think it's a great choice for Health and Human Services. I mean, this is the way I look at it. When people like Mike Pence, of all people, are out there telling the press tonight that he hopes Trump don't pardon the J6ers and he hopes that Congress stops RFK Jr. Mike Pence, take your losing self and go back to the Motel 6 janitor job that you've got right now. Because I don't care how you're praying, Mike. You betrayed the country 4 years ago. We probably wouldn't even be in this mess if you'd have just showed a little guts. And when these never-Trumpers and people like him talk, I just want to scream. And I'm just sick of it, James, because, look, it was a fair election. Me and you stayed up. You stayed up with us almost at 2:30. We finished at 3 that night after Trump spoke. But, buddy, we saw this firsthand, the historical landslide screaming of we the garbage. I've got my We the People on tonight, my shirt. But we the garbage spoke in loud detail a week and a half ago, did we not?
Yes, the result of the election was plain to read. There was the American people rejected all of this leftist nonsense. They couldn't have been clearer. The only places that were even close were in these urban areas where there's an expectation that the government will take care of everything, and that whole mindset needs to be reversed.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, what I'm encouraged with is that the first time around, it appears like Trump learned his lesson. The first time around, he listened to all the elite insiders in the swamp as to who he should pick and play a prominent role in the administration. And almost each and every one of them ended up stabbing him in the back.
I know. I'll agree.
And so, I could not be happier to see just an anti-swamp administration. Let them cry and moan and but there are things that need to be changed in Washington, D.C., and everybody seems to recognize it except the swamp insiders.
Oh, I know, and that's on the Republican side too. And
absolutely,
I mean, the only two things that I think, the only two picks that I have had a problem with, and neither one of them have been actually done, but they're just rumors. Betsy DeVos would be one. He does not need to bring her back. In fact, I heard Scott, the guy from Wisconsin, what's his last name? He was on Bush. He was in Bush's cabinet for a little bit, but the former governor, Scott Walker. They asked him today about the Department of Education, and they were trying to trap him trying to criticize Trump for dismantling the Department of Education. Scott Walker told the interviewer, he said, "No, my Vice President Trump is go ahead and do it now. Don't even wait till January. Start dismantling it now and do it quick." They wasn't expecting that, and that's exactly what he needs to do. And the other pick that I heard tonight late is Mike Rogers. I do not believe he needs to be FBI director. Chris Wray he needs to be putting his resume out, packing his bag, because I think on day one, it's pretty clear Chris Wray will be gone. And I tell you who I got in mind for the FBI director. I don't know if he'd take it. It's our fellow buddy and friend, Brad Johnson. I think he'd make a great FBI director if Trump come calling.
Yeah, he would. But let me go back to your education, the Department of Education.
Yes.
A friend of mine sent Trump was on with about 5 black news broadcasters, and I don't know if you've seen this, but he got into education, what should be done with education. And he made the observation the Department of Education came into play with Jimmy Carter.
Yes.
We were number one. The United States was number one by every metric, far and away over every other country in the world. Now we're in the middle of the pack. At best, we're educating kids that cannot think critically and have been indoctrinated with this woke nonsense now for years, if not decades. And so what has the Department of Defense in Washington? We spend more per capita on student by far than any other country in the world, with the worst results. And so, my opinion, it ought to go back to the states, and they ought to dismantle that huge bureaucracy that has accomplished
nothing
in existence. Nothing.
Go on, John.
These billions of dollars that has been thrown at it over the years, and they have turned out nothing. And every family in this country, ought to be able to choose what school their kids go to, and what the teachers' unions are just absolutely scared to death about is that they'll go to private schools where the kids actually learn something. And so, I'm all for dismantling the Department of Education, turning it back to the states, and having standards of accomplishment for students.
Amen. No, I couldn't amen it more to that. And have you seen anything in his picks? Anybody that gives you a red light? I haven't. I had Magdalene on here last night a little bit, briefly, it was last night, I guess Tuesday night, one of these nights, and we had a late show. And she's all in on all these, and we were in agreement that Betsy DeVos was the only one that was the sore thumb. Mike Rogers is the second one, but is there anybody you see that is problematic? And that's not that I was telling Magdalene, I know that there's going to be an uphill battle in the Senate with some of these, and I will say this tonight. This is what bugs me about our country. There's allegations out there tonight that Matt Gaetz had sex with a 17-year-old. There's allegations that Pete Hegseth sexually assaulted a woman. They all of a sudden, this is what the left does, and this is what makes the left so sick. It makes them so pathetically sick, and they're nothing but slander, liars, and they pay these people to throw this stuff up, to throw mud on a wall, and the media will be their water boy, just like all slander has water boys. All slander has carriers of it. It don't go nowhere unless you have a carrier. And the media is the carrier of these slanderous lies, James. But they always bring it up when they don't like a pick. And they're doing it tonight. I don't think it's going to work this time. I think people have caught on to the gig. But they did the same thing to Kavanaugh. They're doing it to Matt Gaetz. They're doing it to Pete Hegseth. They did it to Herman Cain. When Herman Cain was being considered for president and he was really making some inroads against Romney, they sabotaged his presidency back in 2012, and they did the same thing. This is their playbook. They've always done this. The American public does not need to bite this time. But if James Akers is talking to President Trump tonight, I don't see anything he's done so far that is bad. I think everything that he has said, everything that he's doing is in perfect timing. It's in sync. It feels in sync. It feels that he's doing everything right now. And I think that it's got the left spooked to high heaven. So this is their playbook, man. They go out and slander people.
Yeah, and here's what happens. They get like you said, they get the media to go along with all of this stuff. It raises all of these flashing red lights. Everybody gets ginned up about it. And then you find out months later,
it wasn't even true.
Nothing to it, and the damage has already been done. You know, they refuse to be held accountable when they make these false accusations and false charges. There is no system of accountability for the media in this country for the blatant lies that they peddle, try to profit on. And then after several months, you take all of these cases that have happened. After several months, when it proves out to be that there's nothing to it, do you ever see them apologize?
Never.
Oh,
and my
there's no accountability.
And James, I mean, you're making a great point, because that's just not government. That's the whole country. People do that all the time to other people. They slander him and they lie about him, and they never apologize for it. And then, as you said, when all of it's found out to be untrue, then, you know, there's never a cleanup. But what happens, I think what's happened this time, I think they played that card so much that I think this go around, people are saying, wait a minute. Trump won resounding victory Tuesday night. Look, you've got, when you got the mayor of New York City, the View people today were telling him that Trump was Hitler. Eric Adams looked at the ladies on The View and said, I can tell you right now that the people that voted for Trump in New York, and by the way, there's a report out tonight, he got more votes in New York, the state, since Bush Sr. won or did in 1988, man. I mean, that's how close Trump came to win in New York. And he said, no, he said, I didn't hear anybody calling Trump Hitler. He said their concern was housing, not Hitler. And I think that was pretty wise. I think the country's catching on to this gig. I just do. What do you think about that?
No, I think you're right. They've heard this so many times. The left has trotted all of this stuff out so many times, and they never have a record to run on. There's never any accomplishments that they can show. And over again, they go to the same groups of people and say, we'll get it better next time. We'll get it better next time. And they never do. And so I'm with you. I hope the American people, by and large, just say enough is enough. The guy won a resounding victory. Let's give him a chance to clean up Washington and make it a common sense place, instead of all of this lunacy that's been going on and all of this waste of money that's been going on. Let's quit flushing money down the toilet, this leftist toilet, let's start bringing some reason and common sense back into government.
Amen, Amen.
I see his pick so far. To me, I love the Tulsi Gabbard pick. I absolutely love the ambassador to Israel pick.
Yes,
and you go right on down the line, and these people are bold. They face the fire, and this typical media orchestrated drumbeat, is sounding empty to a lot of people, and it should be.
I'm with you. And, it's funny that the criticism of Huckabee, they're already attacking him. And you will not believe one of the members of Congress today, and I can't think of the lady's name, what her complaint with him was about? He said that he's got a biblical view of Israel. And I thought to myself, wow. So I'm supposed to be upset that President Trump picked a guy that has a biblical view of Israel, and for that reason, we're not going to confirm him? I mean, seriously? But that's the Democrat Party, Jeemes. That's the Dem Party.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They will. Anything that even smacks of God is now offensive to the Democratic Party, and that should really rile, moderates in the Democratic Party. But for some reason, it doesn't. It's just, to me, it's just absolutely crazy. Just crazy.
Yeah. Before I turn to international stuff, because I do want to talk about the international situation, because there's some breaking news on that with Trump's victory as well, with Israel and Ukraine. Have you heard this story that Gateway Pundit reported on? Have you heard anything about this shadow government that Schiff and some of these Dems, they're not even hiding it. They're basically saying they're going to make a shadow government that's going to fight him, just like Obama did, a lot of people believe, from 2016 to 2020. And, James, I just don't see what they think they're going to accomplish. He's got a lame duck president. It ain't like they're going to stop him from doing what he's going to do. They can't do nothing to him. And, I mean, we got the House. For folks that don't know, the Republicans clinched the House yesterday with 218 votes, and these last 9 races are only going to determine the margin of majority they're going to have. And even if we split the 9 races and go 5-4 or 4-5, I mean, we're going to have a 4 to 5 vote cushion. I know that's not much, but considering the wins and the trade wins that we had in California, I think it's pretty good. Definitely got the Senate, and I think we're in good shape. And Trump sued the media, by the way, today. I don't know if you heard about that, too. He sued several news outlets for the slander that they've been trashing him with. But I'm just curious about the shadow government thing. Have you heard anything about that with Schiff and this bunch?
No. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Wait, what are they going to do? They were soundly defeated. And so what they're going to try to do is pick up the discontented in the swamp and try to make things as difficult as possible for Trump. I mean, he knew that going in. I think everybody in the country that recognizes that, and so he's going to be fighting sort of a rear guard battle within this country. At the same time, as we sort of moved international, at the same time, the international picture is fraught with danger. And if ever there was a time when we need to have a unity in this country behind a president that speaks for America first, it should be now, because over the next 4 years, it is going to be a wild roller coaster ride internationally.
It's going to be a wild, wild west. I'm glad you brought the international stuff. I want to talk to you about that a little bit. It seems that I've been watching the Israeli news headlines, and look, Israel's rejoicing tonight, as they should be. I think our policy toward Israel is going to change. Look, President Biden, I told you this back on October the 7th, and I firmly believe this, that Biden was talking out both sides of his mouth. I've talked to Ruth Gudenheim. I've talked to others over there. Nobody in Israel believes that Biden's support was sincere. They knew it was superficial because the Secretary of State was backstabbing Israel all the time. Well, I don't think that's going to happen anymore. And I think Trump's got their back. He will have their back. And I think the countries of the world, there's a report out tonight that Iran, because, the last time me and you talked, you were concerned that we were about to be under an imminent Iranian attack. Well, tonight it's being reported in several Israeli sources that Iran has said there's a new sheriff in town, and we're concerned that if we do this, that all hell is going to break loose on us from Donald John Trump. And I would argue tonight that the Trump effect has already started taking place on the mullahs. And to add to that, Iran told Lebanon tonight it might be in your best interest to surrender and stop shooting rockets into Israel because Trump's in office now. If you want to talk about a Trump effect, man, he ain't even got his hand on the Bible yet.
No, and something, a similar situation was in '79 when they took the hostages,
Very true.
Which was one of the contributing factors to Reagan winning, and the Iranians recognize with a new sheriff in town that they're going to have to adjust their policies,
yes.
And it looks like Iran's doing that same thing. They've from all reporting, they've put all of these threats that they've made. Everything's now put on the back burner till they recalculate, how they're going to deal with Trump and the United States. That is no longer subservient to their desires in the Middle East, and I think that's absolutely critical.
But let me ask you this on that line: do you think that Trump, basically it's a game of chicken with Iran because it's how these Muslims do. They always push you to the brink and then they back down. Do you see him basically keeping them from pursuing arms and pursuing nuclear weapons that the Biden administration was paying them, basically had taken all the restrictions off of them? I see Trump putting restrictions on them like there ain't no tomorrow when he takes office, James. And I think he's about to cripple that economy. I think he is about to do the same thing to Iran that Reagan did to Russia. Reagan crippled their economy, and I think that's what's coming to the Iranians. And if they don't shape up, and I think they know this, but I don't know if it's not too late that Trump's going to do it anyway.
There's an interesting report circulating in the Middle East that in this latest sort of preliminary strike that Israel did on Iran, that they hit a secret nuclear research development
exactly right.
facility that even it was so under the covers that a lot of the Iranians themselves in high places didn't even know about it, and it was a warning shot across Iran's bowels. We know what's going on, and we can respond to it, and so there are a number of reasons why Iran is taking a step backward and recalculating, including their two most reliable puppets in the region have absolutely been decimated. I mean, Hezbollah.
Absolutely, buddy.
They're absolutely getting pounded, and what was the most viable military option for Iran in the region has now been wiped for all intents and purposes off the map. And you're starting to see in Lebanon, some people get their sea legs under them and say, hey, us being harboring Hezbollah and putting weapons in garages and allowing them to have missiles under our houses, all of a sudden that doesn't look like it's such a good idea.
No, it don't, buddy.
So there's been a change, and so in those terms, Iran is waking up to a new world. The two most reliable, counterweights they had to Israel that they could exercise leverage by turning them loose at any point have been wiped off the map. And so they have to do things themselves. They can't do things through surrogates anymore.
Very well said. Yep.
That changes the political calculus in the Middle East considerably.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, man. And I'm going to tell you something else that changes tonight. It changes our situation with Ukraine. Zelensky is not going to be extorting us for no more money at this point. He is not going to be extorting the United States for billions of dollars on a fake war. And I've just been one of these that believe that this whole thing in Russia and Ukraine has been nothing but a sham. I mean, I just do. And I may be proven wrong about that. Look, I know that I don't trust the Russians no more than I do the Ukrainians. But I have to tell you, James, I don't trust the Ukrainians. I distrust the Ukrainians more than I do the Russians. And I think Zelensky has had stuff on the Biden family, and this was his way of extorting Joe over Hunter. And that's why we have bankrupted this country. If you think about the monies, the trillions of dollars that have gone out of the Treasury of the United States of America to the Ukraine, and what money could have been sent, we send the hurricane victims in North Carolina a measly $750 check, which was an insult to their intelligence, an insult to all of us, really. That was a blank you to America by the Harris-Biden administration. But yet, on the same day that they offered pennies to our North Carolina friends, they give $100 million to Lebanon, and they give another 40, 50 billion to Ukraine to fight this war. And Trump has made it clear that's going to stop. There's just a lot of stuff that's going to stop, James. And I think that you're going to see peace with that situation. And Putin's out there tonight saying, hey, we'll let Trump come in and solve this if he wants to. And let me tell you something, Trump's not going to play footsies with either one of them. And as you said, I like what you said, I'll say it too. There's a new sheriff in town. And there's going to be peace between Russia and Ukraine. Or the Americans will cut the money off and you'll see what happens. Ukraine will come around. That's my thought. What's yours?
Well, I'm... The problem is with the Ukraine is that for number one, Putin's an absolute thug, and it's just hard to design a policy that benefits Putin. But on the other side of the coin, all of this money's going down a toilet in the Ukraine. That there is so much corruption over there that all of these billions of dollars you're talking about, it doesn't make its way to the battlefield to help the Ukraine.
Never does.
You got officials that's pocketing most of this money, including the clown turned president. That's heading the whole operation, yeah. and so no matter which way you turn in terms of Ukrainian policy, it's bad choice. It's bad choices.
Well, let me just say this: you're being very kind calling him a clown, because I got another term for him, but I can't say it on my Friday night family show. So you go ahead and call him a clown, okay? And I'll amen that.
Well, I call him a clown because that was his previous profession. So it was the American media that gave him a measure of respectability.
That's so true. That's so true.
And so you have that situation, but yet, you cannot, in my view, you cannot reward the Russians for naked aggression either.
I understand that. I do understand that too. And that's what makes it so complicated, because the Russians are not without fault. But I think it was exploited. The war was exploited by the Ukrainians, And again, if you get down to it, James, and I'll get your thoughts on this because I know that there's been a lot of discussion. This goes back and forth. None of this would have happened. It didn't start Putin's air up until Biden and them started pushing Ukraine to be part of NATO. And when that started, it started all of this rolling down the hill. And I'm not saying that Putin would not have done it even without that. Who knows? But at least with Trump, Putin was held in check. People claimed Russia was interfering in our elections when, to be frank with you, I don't see any of that. China was probably interfering more than Russia, but we're good buddies with China. I mean, Joe's over there pathetically insulting our intelligence again and shaming himself, bowing down to Z like some god. And probably telling them, I'm sorry, I won't be around for the destruction of, the United States that y'all hold all this money. I mean, it just insults me, and it burns me to the color of my shirt to watch these world leaders shame our country like they've done over the last 4 years. But I think if you're going to get down to election interference, brother, China had their hand in this a lot more than Russia did. And I just think that under Trump, none of this in the Ukraine and Russia would have happened. That's just my opinion.
No, we live in a world that's just absolutely full of bad guys that we have sort of, in the Kentucky vernacular, bent over and grabbed our ankles while all of these just did everything we wanted to, basically because we have schools now that are teaching hatred of America instead of support of America. There's no patriotism being taught in the universities, with rare exceptions. And so, we have a country that hates itself, and that is absolute craziness.
Absolutely.
What is going of the next few, you're already starting to see now some things break. Scholz, the German chancellor, who is, there are going to be new elections in Germany held in February for the Bundestag, and let me tell you, Scholz's party is going to take a huge loss, and so you have minority governments now in Germany, which was one of the Ukraine's biggest supporters, even though 60 to 65% of the country wanted a peaceful resolution of that war rather than them coming in on the side of the Ukrainians. You have France with a minority government. For months and years, I didn't pay much attention to Europe. And I'm telling you, Chris, that there's a real good chance over the next, certainly during Trump's administration, that these major cornerstones of Europe are going to go down the tubes.
I'll agree.
That is some international repercussions that we better start preparing ourselves how we're going to cope with the situation. For example, Volkswagen, for the first time in 50 years, is closing factories and laying off tens of thousands of employees, largely because they have fields full of EVs they can't sell. And so you have, and the same with BMW. All of German industry is going under, and it's going to pull the banking down with it. And I am telling you that we are looking at major problems everywhere you look in the world. You have China that is amassing one of the largest maritime forces that we have seen in modern times across the strait from Taiwan. You have North Koreans fighting alongside Russians in the Kursk enclave in the Ukraine. And this world is going crazy in a hurry. At the same time, you have just these unprecedented natural disasters happening everywhere around the world. At the same time, you've got AI and some technology that there are some people that are predicting you're going to have AGI or something that approaches it by the end of the Trump administration, which is a total game changer that nobody can predict what's going to happen with all of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. I do want to ask you this. We got about 5 minutes with you, and then we're going to wrap this thing up tonight here. Listen, there's a lot of talk, and we've been actually discussing this on our morning Bible study, and I want to get your opinion about this as we sort of wrap all this up on a Friday night. We're going to get you back on next week. You're going to be on once a week until Jesus comes, Akers, so I'll owe you like 100 hot dogs when I come up to Cincinnati next. See you next spring for baseball. But no, seriously, I know that me and we both are the same. We've got the same faith structure. We understand the Lord's hand was in this thing Tuesday night. It was very prophetic. I mean, I don't even think that even we that understand that it was prophetic understand the depth of how God spared this country. I heard a minister today. I was listening to somebody, and I absolutely love what he said. And he was talking about how that there are some occasions in Scripture that God gave a reprieve to destruction. He gave a short reprieve to Sodom and Gomorrah. They didn't take advantage of it. He gave a reprieve to Nineveh. And Nineveh repented at first, but went right back into the apostasy that God spared them of, the judgment under Jonah. And unfortunately, Nahum had to go back and say, look, there's no mercy this time. You're going to be judged and destroyed. They did not take advantage of their reprieve. You can argue Israel did not take advantage of their reprieve. God sort of established them back in their land. They had a second temple that they were worshiping at. God sends his only son. They reject him, and Israel was scattered over this earth for nearly 2,000 years. And there is a lot of historical incidents, James, where God has spared nations, but yet they didn't take advantage of it. And the minister asked a question today, and I love what he said, and I'll ask you this question. And I agreed with him what he said. He said, look, I really believe God gave us a reprieve last Tuesday night. And I've even said that on our faith shows, that it was a prophetic reprieve with the election of Donald Trump. But the question, and I have this to the true church, but also to the apostate system that sadly has a lot of voice in this country. The question ultimately is not about the reprieve that God gave us, it's what we're going to do with it. We have an opportunity, James, in this nation to change course. We really do. With the abortion, with the perversion, with the corruption, with the open borders, with the just virulent God hatred, the Antichrist spirit that's controlling many of these churches. We've got a shot to at least give some pause to what I was concerned with, and I think many intercessors that I've spoke to were concerned with, that there was judgment proclaimed against this country, and serious judgment, serious judgment. Do you believe that, first of all, I think I know the answer to this first question. The second one's a little bit more complicated. I think you're in agreement that the Lord gave us mercy. Tuesday night was a week ago. The question to you tonight is, where do you think America goes from here? Do we take advantage of this? Or do we really ultimately not sure what we're going to do with this? Because ultimately that's the bigger question. It ain't Trump. I love President Trump. I'm so excited he's in. I'm relieved. I feel the relief. I have felt peace since last Tuesday night. And I think that this conversation would have been a lot different had it went the other way. But I do believe that the choice now is us. And I got the We the People shirt on tonight, man. It still comes down to we the people, James, and what kind of country we want and what kind of country we don't want. Because Trump's just one man. But we're the people of this land that control that government. We're the people. We're a republic. We're a constitutional republic. What you say on that, and we'll wrap this up.
Well, here's my view on it. We dodged a bullet. It would have been absolute spiritual, societal disaster if the one party had won the election. A godless party, and there would have been all sorts of implications for the church. every time a culture, a civilization, an empire has been given a chance like this, it is always conditional. It is conditional on the people responding in a godly way, and I think that goes to Donald Trump too.
I'll agree.
I was glad he won, but if Donald Trump has the view that it was his skills as a politician that won this election, instead of a measure of gratitude to the Lord for sort of turning this thing, then this country is as much trouble as it ever was.
I'll agree.
That's my view on it.
Buddy, I think wow. Go ahead. Keep going.
So it is conditional. I think we've been given a chance to reverse things, but it is absolutely conditional, and it's conditional on key players like Donald Trump. It is conditional on whether people in the church will rise up and act like the bride of Christ instead of bowing and scraping to the world. And we are at a pivot point in history, in the history of this American experiment. We've been given the chance to turn it around, but it is absolutely conditional. God is not going to favor a country that continues to kill babies and thumb their, and all the judges and all the legislators and everybody else thumb their noses in the face of God and expect there not to be judgment. You know, that's my view. We are at a pivot point, but it's conditional. People have to rise up, and the church, first of all, has to act like the church.
Yeah.
That's what you. And if that does not happen, then I think the disaster we averted will just be a shadow of the disaster to come.
I could not have said that and stated that much better. And I'm going to start a poll in our chat tonight. Do you think America is going to take advantage of this? We'll see how the people respond to that. Jeemes, I think that you said it beautifully, buddy, and I think the key word is conditional. That's why I see all the time when I hear prophetic voices say things, and the way I know that usually a prophetic word is true is that there's always conditions. God very seldom gives nations a carte blanche ticket and says, I'm going to do this without a response from that nation. That nation has to respond to what he's trying to do. And there's never an instance where he didn't tell a nation he was going to do something and then say, okay, I don't care how you live, I'm still going to do it. That has never happened, and it never will happen, correct?
That's right. No, the choice is God's way or a human way. And a human way always leads to, in the end, an anti-God, anti-Jesus Christ sort of movement. If you take such things as social justice, there is no social justice without Jesus Christ being right at the center of it. No matter how worthwhile or how worthy human beings think their own effort is, in the end, if God is not right at the center of it, it's going to fail. And we as a country, you have at least half of the people now in terms of politics that prefer a human solution, a government solution, if you will, to a God solution. And that mindset has to be turned around. And God has given us in the last decade several wake-up calls that we have virtually as a country and and a culture we have ignored. And I am afraid the next wake-up call, is going to be much worse than anything we've seen. And we have seen some pretty obvious, in my view, spiritual wake-up calls. And what is it going to take for our people to turn to God rather than trusting in flawed human beings?
You just asked the question, though, that I think that none of us want to answer, and I'll tell you why. And I'll let you go after this. I think what it would take, Jeemes, to get this country to its knees in a way that would be pleasing to God and us humbling ourselves, is the same answer to the question that what he's got to do to Israel. Because, buddy, Israel is not going to bow that knee until 2/3 of the Jewish race is exterminated during the Great Tribulation period, man. And it's going to take the Antichrist literally coming close to destroying her forever for her to come to her senses. And I think that goes for every nation. If you think about it, Jeemes, every nation that has ever had a revival, a move of God, it's usually either preceded by judgment or it's followed by judgment. And I'm going to tell you, I just think we're in the balance. I don't think and I've told the prophecy students in the morning the same thing I'm going to say to all the folks tonight. Nothing changed in God's prophetic plan whatsoever. Tuesday night was a week ago. What has happened is that I think out of just a sovereign act of mercy that we did not deserve, what this nation has done in his face and the blood that we've shed with these babies, the perversion that we've promoted, the corruption that we promoted, the immorality that we have paraded around, the absolute lack of faith and morals that this nation has had, this absolute in-your-face blasphemy that we have seen from the church and pastors. And I'm talking about God's people tonight, man. Look, we didn't deserve anything. And somebody commented on our chat here a few weeks ago, or one night, it was right after the election, and I don't know who it was, and they made this statement. They said, we deserved Kamala. And, I know people probably cringed at that, but when you get down to it, James, we did. This country deserved any leader that would have been put over us. Because Israel, when she reached a point like we've reached, God put evil leaders over her. He allowed them to, put their evil leaders. Now, it was a lot of family, generational stuff with Israel in the Old Covenant, but nations have always been given free will to choose their leaders. But it was just an act of mercy that God gave us Tuesday night. But the question that you ask, I'm afraid, is one that none of us want to answer. Because what it would take to get us to that place, I don't think we want to know. I sure don't. And I'll let you wrap us up. Final few minutes, final thoughts. It's been good to have you tonight. We'll pick this conversation up next week, man. Final thoughts.
I've so enjoyed being with you and your audience tonight. And I'm flattered that you have me on to let me give my viewpoints. But yes, and the example is the prime example is the children of Israel, that God performed a miracle of all miracles, destroyed the Egyptian army that was going to kill them. Took them, parted the waters to get them across the Red Sea. Moses disappears for a while, and the first thing they do is they have an idol,
build a golden calf,
and that is the consequences of godlessness. Is when you build idols, human things to replace God, and that is what's going to happen in this country unless the church, judgment begins in the house of the Lord, unless the church starts to rise up and be the bride of Christ. I'm afraid that we have just delayed disaster. We haven't overcome it. It is disaster delayed.
I think you're right there, and I think there was a pause that hit. I think that at the very minimum it was a pause, but I'm with you. I'm not so sure it's been totally stopped. And I guess that is going to determine our response, how we respond to this privilege. And I call it a privilege, man. We're given a reprieve, James, and it's by God's mercy we've been given this. We better take advantage of it, man. We just better. And I think the church did not take advantage of it in 2016. We ain't got another shot at this. That's just my opinion, and I appreciate your insight. Listen, I could talk to you forever. I got to finish this up. Listen, God bless you, and I'll be in touch with you next week. We'll get you back on, and looking forward to fellowshipping with you in person again soon. I really am, man.
That sounds good, Chris, and always enjoy being on your show. It's an honor, man. Thank you very much.
Next time we'll get you to talk about your new book to do, but I'll let you go tonight. God bless, friend.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Jeemes Akers, everybody. Put some fire in that house. Good to see everybody in the house. It was good to see Teresa starting to drop in tonight. Good to see you, Teresa. Good to see you, Bear, Carrie E., Lowell, Julia Carter, Jennifer Milano. Good to see you, Erica Schultz. It's humanism. Erica, it is humanism. It is humanism, but it's a lack of faith. I'll agree with that, but it's the spirit of Antichrist. But I think Jeemes makes a very great point. Judgment must begin at the house of God. When you've got groups, pastors, preachers, teachers, whoever, that went to the polls Tuesday night was a week ago and voted for Kamala Harris, and you had another 40 million Christians that just sit down and said, I ain't going to do nothing. We ain't going to vote. We ain't going to do nothing. We're not going to get involved in our government. Just think about what would the margins been. I truly believe if the 40 million Christians would have went out and voted, that Trump very well could have won all 50 states, even liberal Hawaii. But 40 million said, we won't got nothing to do with it. That's apathy. That's not humanism. That's apathy. Your statement is correct. There is some humanistic issues with this, without a doubt. But anyway. JSE, who knows how we're going to be judged? I understand what you're saying. We just stated that. We just absolutely stated what you just said. And I'm not taking your comment out because I disagree with it, but we just don't like paragraphs. But what you're saying is right. God's mercy it's been offered, and it's how we choose it. It's how we choose it. It's how we choose it. And Linda, James does have a good spirit. He's a good man in person. He really is. All righty. Now, if you've got a comment, and good to see Kim Yo from California. I saw Emily Courtney in the house tonight. Emily's been sick. Good to see you up there, back in here tonight, dear Erica Schultz. Good to see you, Kathy Tardif, Jennifer Milano, Chris Shogren. Chris, your comment about Casey is right. That's why he didn't concede, because he was wanting to get the illegals to vote. And this election board is allowing it. And when the Pennsylvania Supreme Court slapped it down, if I was Republicans tonight, the RNC, they need to be in Pennsylvania stopping this stuff. They do. They need to take this to the Supreme Court tonight immediately. And just like Youngkin did in Virginia, he put a stop to this mess, because the Virginians were trying to do the same thing. They were trying to do the same thing, put illegals and not allow him to take the illegals off the voting rolls. And the Supreme Court said an illegal does not have a right to vote. And I don't know what part of that the Pennsylvania people don't get in Burke County tonight, other than just being evil and plain stupid. But that's just me. Anyway, good to see everybody in the house. Outdoory West is in the house tonight. Good to see her. And so forth. Listen, we've been going about an hour. Salamoni was in there earlier. Good to see her tonight, all of you. And so forth, and all of you folks in Facebook. I saw Corey Aguilar in there. Corey says what the shadow government is a true insurrection. It's my opinion too, my friend. It's exactly what it is. And Mike Pence can take his J6 comment and shove it where the sun don't shine, because Trump does need to pardon all the J6ers. And this is what makes Mike Pence's comments so hypocritical. There wouldn't have been J6ers if Mike Pence would have done his job and just simply paused that election in 2020. I didn't want him to stop it, but just pause it and just find out what was going on. But in retrospect, Mike Pence did the country a favor. He ruined his political career in doing it. He couldn't get elected to a Republican janitorship at the Holiday Inn right now. But we went over this, that if Trump is in far greater a position to get stuff done tonight than he would have ever been in 2020. And the Lord knew that. The prophets did not know that. And they can take their victory laps all they want, and all their little flunkies and all their little junkies and groupies can take their victory laps. They didn't see this. They did not see this. They saw 2 turns, but they were all screaming consecutive, and they candidly want you to forget what they really said back in those days. That's why I don't give the prophets a bit of credit for any of this. I don't. And I respect the prophetic gift. I respect the prophetic community, folks, but I have no respect for these people that are aggrandizing this and screaming like they had some kind of spiritual insight. There's a guy way back in 1983 that was basically making statements that Trump may get used. That was 40 plus years ago. Nobody's talking about him. But again, we just, that's the state of the country. That's the state of the country. But Trump's in a far better place tonight, folks, than he would have ever been. But Mike Pence's comments tonight's reprehensible. And I saw the comment about him not liking RFK because of his abortion stance. Well, you know, Mike, if Mike feels that way, that's fine. And I don't agree with Robert F. Kennedy's stance on abortion. I don't. I will tell you that if you start looking at all of these cabinet picks, there's going to be things about them that they may hold to that I'm just not going to agree with. But I'm going to tell you right now, I do put trust in President Trump and his judgment. And I think that as far as the country's health goes, I think RFK Jr. will be a good pick. I'm not going to agree with his politics. But we'll see how this plays out. But I just wish Mike Pence would shut up. He's had his moment in the sun, and he's had his time. Go back to Indiana and whatever. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Let's see here. Illegals have no voting right in the U.S. They don't. They do not have a right, Susan. They don't. They really don't. If you got a comment or two, real quick, folks, we're going to stay about 10 more minutes and we're going to be out of here. And Dennis, the rapture will occur. We don't know how soon that's going to be. Nobody can put a time on that. It may not be soon, Dennis. Who knows? I mean, it's coming. Jesus is coming soon. I don't think anything that happened last Tuesday night has changed the course of events in God's mind. I just don't. I think that everything that has been determined is going to happen in his due timing. In his timing. President Trump's election Tuesday night, his re-election was in his timing, not man's. And it was in God's timing, not the prophets. And all these voices that were out there screaming that Trump was coming back in 2020, and some of them just embarrassed themselves. They just flat out shamed themselves with the way they handled it when he didn't get in. And folks, that's what led to the rise. The Q movement had already been in full-blown force since 2018. And it just made the church look like a bunch of, I hate to use this word tonight, folks. It made this prophetic community that embraced the Q movement look like a bunch of spiritual imbeciles. It did. It shamed us. It shamed the movement. It shamed the church. And they just dug in. But I don't want to beat a dead horse. It's over. It's done. It don't need to happen again. There's no sense in beating it back, and keep talking about it, I guess. It's done. But I will tell you this tonight, folks. Everything that's happened has been in God's perfect timing. Everything. And I think that what President Trump is going to do here, moving on, will be in God's perfect timing. And Jeannie, you're right. Pence is irrelevant in anything he says, and I don't think anybody cares right now. I just don't. I don't think they care. Now, our poll is interesting. We've had about 48 of you, almost 50 of you, and 75% say yes, America will take advantage of this. 25% says no. I guess it remains to be seen. I'm sort of in the middle, folks. I'm praying for the best. praying for the best, hoping for the best. But again, our faith, as I close tonight, should not change one iota. What happened Tuesday night, our faith should still be the same in Jesus Christ tonight. And that, I think we all can agree with. By the way, a couple of quick memes for you real quick. We the garbage. I got to get this cup. Got to get. I think I'm going to do a T-shirt with that. Or, by the way, McFiles turned 7 years old in January. Did y'all know that? We're going to be 7. 7's the number of God. We have made 7 years, folks, and every bit of it because of you folks and the Lord Himself. But He's stirred the hearts of people to give and to keep us on the show and keep us going. Thank you all that do that. But we the garbage have spoken. And I think we can say amen to that. By the way, this is a killer. I forgot to ask James about this other one I'm going to show you, but this one's interesting. Do you realize that since Tuesday night, a week ago, the Crap News Network, their ratings have dropped 94%. 6%, folks. Just 6% of the country's watching CNN tonight. That's unreal. That network's, if that keeps on, they're gone. They're gone. Anyway, I'm sorry. By the way, here's the breakdown. Here's the breakdown of the House so far. We're at 218, and that was the number that we needed to win. The Dems have 209. There's 9 seats still left to go, but there's the breakdown of the seats that went red and the seats that went blue. You can see a lot of the blue over in California. The California situation was why a lot of people were concerned that it may go the other way because a lot of these seats were up in arms about California. But right now we got a 218 to 209. We got a 53-47 advantage in the Senate. We've got 27 Republican governors, which is very important. So that's good. That's over half the governors in the country are Republican. Folks, it was a romp. It was a romp. It was a rout. It was a rout. Look, the lady on CBS, I don't know her name, one of these Dem yahoos, lackeys, were on there claiming how close it was. Hakeem Jeffries, actually, it was the Democrat leader of the House. He was on there trying to tell her yesterday that this was a close election and we just, he really didn't win a mandate because this election was more close than people realized. And she looked at him, she says, but it wasn't close, Hakeem. You got your butt kicked. Pretty much is what she said. I added the butt kick. But you got your butts kicked, Dems. You got your butt kicked. You really did. By the way, this is an interesting story, and we're going to talk about this more next week about Google. If you, they've got these timelines, this day in history thing. Well, if you put in July the 13th, which is the day that President Trump almost got assassinated, they do not list that as anything that occurred on that day. There's the list right there. And the interesting thing about that, if you put the day Ronald Reagan got in, March the 30th, this day in history, first thing that comes up is Ronald Reagan was almost killed. That's very intriguing. They've taken it off their generated thing that generates this day in history thing. Not surprising that they do it. Let's see here. By the way, we've not talked about this. John Thune became the Speaker of the Senate, or the House President, not the House Speaker. I'm extremely honored to have earned the support of my colleagues to lead the Senate in the 119th Congress. I'm beyond proud of the work we have done to secure a majority. This Republican team is united behind President Trump's agenda, and our work starts today. Monday night, we'll have a late show, and we're going to talk about John Thune and the Congress and get your thoughts about him. But I'm curious as we leave this tonight, what's your thoughts on Thune and so forth. there's our final tally, 76 to 23, 55 votes. Julie, we've kept the House. We've kept the House. And it was a red tidal wave, Naomi. Absolutely it was. It was. It was without a doubt. Janet says, I believe Trump's love for Israel has a lot to do with God's favor over America. Janet, I'll agree, but there's some things that even Trump has said that he wants to do with these settlements that I don't think is good. But I think I will put it like this. We're going to go from a very anti-Israel administration to one that will be pro-Israel. Mike Huckabee is the absolute best choice he could have ever chose to be the ambassador to that nation. The absolute best. There's no other person, I don't think, in the world that could have been a better pick. And the complaint tonight coming from the left about Mike Huckabee is he's got a biblical view of Israel. So, okay. And what's your point? What's your point? But we do have the House, 218. And we the garbage. We the garbage have spoken. We the garbage have spoken. And I think that is very clear. Very clear. I was going to show you something else here. Anyway, I'll probably think of it when I leave the show, but we'll pick it up Monday night because we'll be back. This ain't the last show that we'll be doing. We're grateful that you all have been with us tonight, and we hope that you've enjoyed the Friday night. We wasn't going to come on, but I'm glad that we did. I enjoyed being with you tonight, and we've got a lot more to come next week. By the way, this is what I was talking to you about Trump tonight, and he sued. This was Eric Doherty reporting this. He sues the New York Times, the CBS, and other major media outlets for $10 billion. Trump team is alleging false and defamatory statements and called the New York Times a full-throated mouthpiece of the Democrat Party. Well, I hope he wins. I hope he wins every dime of it. I do. I do. And we the garbage have spoken. And I want to just say, I love you garbage out there. If you're part of that garbage, say amen. We're grateful. And Dennis, she says, what do I think of the DOGE? Dennis, I love it. Look, and Dennis, I'm going to say this about Elon and Vivek. Look, guys, I told you this the other night. The Lord had to jump over the church and raise up some people. We're talking about this on the morning Bible studies. We're dealing with Cyrus, by the way, on our Faith Network. Y'all should come and join us in the mornings. Our Bible students, some of them are in the house tonight. We're having a good discussion in the mornings about this. God uses who he wants to use. We don't have, man's just a piece of dirt. And we don't have the final say in who God uses and who he don't. There are Christians that don't like Elon Musk. There are Christians that question Vivek's faith. They question Elon's faith. They question RFK Jr.'s faith. They question everybody's faith. They want to question everything and judge people about statements and their past and everything else. Pete Hegseth tonight, they're complaining. AP ran a story about his Christian tattoos and claiming that that's a sign he's an extremist. He's got his body tattooed all the way up. Well, guess what? God uses people with tattoos. It may not be my thing, but I don't judge people with tattoos. That's between them and God. But I don't judge people. And I'm going to be frank with you, folks. If Elon can come in here and get this waste out of government, I showed you the thing last night. That let me just do that again for our Friday night audience. I don't know if you saw this last night. If you wasn't with us, our tax dollars have been going to some trash. I mean, it really has been unreal what our tax dollars have been going to. Let me see if I can find that. Did I delete that? I hope I didn't. I'll find it. We'll do it Monday night. But anyway, it was it was unreal. We were spending about $500,000 to determine whether monkeys can be transgender or not. These studies that are $500,000, $600,000, $1 million. Look, we played the video here a few months ago that there's a study out there that they were trying to figure out whether men could get pregnant. It was $1 million, $1.52 million that was being wasted on that study. That kind of crap is going to be stopped by Elon and Vivek. And you can think what you want to of them. I think it's the greatest thing that's ever happened in this country. And I'm going to tell you this. If God has to jump over the church and use somebody like Elon Musk to fix this country, then so be it. We, the church, don't need to be complaining because 40 million of us set our blanks home and didn't engage in this process. And maybe the Lord saw the apathy of the church and said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to save your country for you, and I'm going to use people that most of you in the church don't even like. Ain't the first time he's done it. And I've got a feeling if he tarries, it ain't going to be the last time he's done it. Now, all these crazies out there be posting all this Illuminati stuff and symbolism and masonry claims, and all these loon bombs will try to convince you that all this is evil. Well, okay. These same people that are doing that didn't even vote, by the way. They didn't vote. They claimed Trump was the Antichrist. So, all I got to tell you garbage folks that did vote, we the garbage, we spoke. And Dennis, what do I think about the DOGE? I think it's great. We need to clean up our government. We need to clean up the money we're spending on this kind of perversion and crap. Because that's money that can go back into the pockets of the American people. And I got a feeling that man in that garbage truck right there is going to, I think that it's going to be a Merry Christmas anyway this year. But I've got a feeling 2025, folks, is going to be a year of justice. Ricky's got she's got something she's going to share with you Monday night. She's going to be our guest at 8 o'clock. And she wrote one of the most powerful articles this week about what 2025 is going to hold. It's powerful stuff, what the Lord's showing her. And I'm going to let her share it with you. But I think we're going to be in for better days if the Lord will get the attention of his people and we get in line with what he's doing. I'm not putting my faith in, I love President Trump. My faith is not in him. My faith is in the God of heaven. I serve him. I support President Trump, but I serve the Lord. I want to say that again. I support President Trump. I believe in what he's doing. I don't see anything he's done, even in this first week, that is bad. But my faith is above. Amen? I think we can get an amen in the house on that. And anyway, Matt Gaetz, I think, Corey, I'm not sure if he can go back to the Senate or not. I think he can. I think he can if he don't get confirmed. He's going to get confirmed, Corey. He's going to get confirmed. He really is. And so forth. Susan, you asked if Fauci was in on those crazy studies. Yeah, he was in on those crazy studies. Some of them. Elaine says she's proud to be garbage. Elaine, I am too. We're going to do a t-shirt. I think it's going to be our 7-year anniversary t-shirt. We're going to put one out for January for you guys to wear next year. We the garbage. I got we the people on. By the way, this is one of our shirts from last year. You like that? I like that one. That's had the whole nation. 1776. We're going to get these t-shirts rolling again. I stopped doing them, and I don't know why, because a lot of people bought them, and we should have kept doing them. But we're going to get back to those, because I love putting this message out there. But we the garbage. We the garbage have spoken. I ain't more prouder to be garbage either, Elaine. Listen, God bless you. God bless your families. I've been going an hour and 20 minutes. I didn't mean to go this long. Listen, I love you guys. I'll see you over the weekend on the Sunday morning Bible study or Sunday night, one of them. And listen, we love you both. All of you. All of you. Tonight. Both Facebook, both YouTube, both X, both Rumble, all the audiences tonight. Much love and much appreciation for being part of this McFiles group. And thank you all for being with me. Good to see some folks we hadn't seen in a long time in the house tonight. Always a pleasure. If you enjoy the show, put some fire in that house. May the Lord bless you. I'm going to play that national anthem again. That's pretty good stuff, wasn't it? Here's the Star Spangled Banner as we go out tonight. Thank God for the reprieve, folks. Let's take advantage of it. Have a good night, everybody.
Light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled